All right, W-2 form. Need to scroll down just a hair. What do you notice about this besides the fact that it is red?
Got 2012
It's 2012.
It says wage and tax statement too.
Okay. It's a statement of your wages and your taxes. What was that, Riley?
It says W-2.
It says W-2. Good.
Don't cut, fold, or staple form on this page.
Okay. Look at this. It says employee social security number. Who's that going to be?
Yours?
Yours. It's going to be the person who received the money or received the wages. Employer identification number. Every employer that takes out taxes has a special number. Because after they take those taxes out of your check, before you get your check, it goes into a holding fund, and then they have to pay the federal government. They all have an EIN number so that the federal government knows who it came from. Employer's name, address, and zip code. That's who employs you, who pays you. Control number, you don't have to worry about that. Now down here is employee's address, employee's first name and initial, employee's last name. This information here is how much money you made. Box 1 is going to be the amount of money that you made before taxes. All right. Box 2 is how much federal income tax was taken out of your check. Box 3 is how much money was charged Social Security tax. Most of the time, box 1, 3, 5, and 7 are going to be the same. Sometimes they're not, and to be honest, I don't exactly know why they aren't, but your tax people know that. 4, box 4 is how much Social Security tax was withheld. Social Security tax is gone. You're never going to get that back. Medicare tax withheld, allocated tips. So if you were a waitress or a waiter and you got tips, you're supposed to actually claim those. Dependent care benefits, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look down here at the bottom on line 15, it says state employer's state identification number. So your employer's number again. How much you made that the state taxed you on. How much you paid into your taxes. And then local wages and tips, that has to do with your school district tax. It's usually going to be the same name. But do you see box 20? Box 20 tells what school district they paid it into. Okay, if you move to a different school district in the mid-year, you're going to have to make sure that you tell your employer so that they put the school district income tax to wherever you've moved to. So you remember when I told you Wayne Trace is 6303? That would be in that box, so that you would know that that is Wayne Trace's. Your money went to Wayne Trace.
So like when you pay those taxes and stuff, does it come through just that school? Like you do it like once a year, or do you do it like every month?
Every time you get paid, money comes out of your check. Your employer does it for you.
Okay. So like, what if you have like, what if you did? So that have to be 2 numbers then in that box? Cause
If you had 2, yeah, they would report it twice on there because there's another line down here.
oh,
So they could have 2 lines, or they might even send you an extra W-2. I'm not sure. Okay, so that's what the W-2 is. The W-2 is just an information on this is how much that I am reporting to the IRS that you have made. Okay, here's the taxes that have been taken out. Does that make sense? Any questions about the W-2? Going once. Going twice. All right. You're probably wondering, why is this important? Is this in? We're going to look at a filled out W-2 in a little bit. But right now we're going to start it with the 1040 EZ. This is how you would do your taxes. Especially you as a young person who's not making a lot of money, who doesn't have a lot of deductions. Okay, when you're young, you can fill out the easy form. What do you think they call it the easy form?
It's supposed to be a simplified version.
Because it's easy, yeah. It's very simplified. You don't, you're not making millions and millions and millions of dollars. You don't have a lot of deductions. So that's the easiest way for you to fill it out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up the form. Alright, here's the form. Now, when you can go and get these forms online. All you have to do is type in 1040 Easy and it'll take you to the IRS. Or you can go to your library and get them. What you actually get is a booklet that's about this thick. And then inside it are forms that you would pull out, like if you got the hard copy at the library, or you would just print them off separately online. This is the instruction booklet for that two-sided form. Okay? I think there were 40-some pages. Yeah, 46 pages of really fun information. You guys don't look too excited about taxes. It's actually very self-explanatory if you read through this to do your own taxes. So I'm just going to kind of go over it with you and what you need to know. Okay? First of all, the top part of this form is pretty stinking easy. You put your name, your social security number. If you're married and you have a joint account or you're doing your taxes together, then you put their name as well. But if you're married, you don't have to do your taxes together. There are some times, under certain circumstances, you would get more money back if you do them separately. Okay? Your address, if you live in a foreign country, you have to put that, the name of the foreign country, okay? Or foreign postal office.
When would you use that then?
Some people have U.S. citizenship, but they don't live here sometimes. So if they make money in the United States, they have to pay taxes. And then they always try to get you to donate money. So if you notice the little brown or the little gray box that says presidential election campaign, you can choose whether you and or your spouse would like to give $3 to that fund. Okay.
Either one of you wants to.
Then you just don't check it. I never check that. Now, line 1, wages, salaries, and tips. This should be shown in box 1 of your Form W-2s. Attach your W-2s. So all you do is take that printed paper that you got. If you have one W-2, it makes it really easy. If you have 2, you add those 2 boxes together on the 2 W-2s. So if I worked at the grocery store and I worked at the gas station throughout the year, when I got my W-2s at the end of the year, I would add up both box 1s and it would go on that line. Okay? Your employers for the entire year have till January 31st to get you all of your W-2s by law. That's the law. That way you have until March or till April 15th to get your taxes done and send it. They have to be postmarked by April 15th or they will hit you with fees and fines and all of that. Now, if you don't pay your taxes, they're going to come after you a lot harder than if you don't do your tax forms to get money back from them. Does that make sense? Because sometimes the federal government's going to owe you money back because you paid too much in taxes. Sort of like, I look at it like a little surprise savings account come March and April. You get a check back from the government of the extra taxes that you paid. Okay?
What do you mean by postmark?
Means it has to be in the mail and they have to stamp the postmark on it by April 15th. Even if it doesn't get to them for another week because of a flood or something, as long as it's postmarked, you're fine. Number 2 is taxable interest. How many of you have a savings account in a bank somewhere? Have you ever looked at a statement and you get interest each month? That's all taxable. So you will get a form from your bank saying how much taxable interest you have. If it's more than $1,500, that means you have a lot of money in the bank, okay? And you can't use the 1040 easy. But if it's, you put that amount on line 2 if it's under $1,500. Number 3, unemployment compensation and Alaska Permanent Fund dividends. If you collect unemployment benefits, your compensation, you'll get something from the unemployment office saying this is how much that you have to claim, and you'll put it on line 3.
What's the Alaska Permanent Fund thing?
I have no clue what that is. I would say if you lived in Alaska, it could be something you might have. I'm not sure. Number 4, you have to add lines 1, 2, and 3. That is your adjusted gross income. That's all the income that you have to be taxed on. Okay? Number 5, if someone can claim you as a dependent, check the applicable boxes. Okay, so if you can be claimed by your parents, you have to check you. And then you have to fill out a worksheet on the back. If no one else can claim you, if you're single, you need to put in $9,750. If you're married, it's $19,500. If you're married, filing joint. Okay? Now let's look at the back of that page. If someone else can claim you, you have to fill out this worksheet. And it says, amount, if any, from line 1 on front. So all you do is look at line 1, that was on your W-2, box 1, and you put it in that, on that box. Then you need to add $300 to it, and you move it over to line A. Minimum standard deduction is $950. You enter the bigger of A or B, whichever one is bigger. Okay? D says maximum standard deduction. If single, enter $5,950. If married, filing joint, enter $11,900. If you're a dependent, more than likely you're still going to be single. Okay? If not, that means you're married and probably living with your parents. Then line E, you have to enter the smaller of C or D. So whichever number is smaller, you just put on line E. Exemption amount, if single, put 0. If married, filing jointly, both of your spouses can be claimed as dependents, put 0. If only one, you can enter $3,800. And then you need a line to add lines E and F together, and you're going to put that amount on G, or on line 5. Okay? That's your deduction. That's what takes away from your income so that you don't have to pay as much tax. And if you haven't already noticed, it pretty much walks you through the steps. It says, if you this, then do this. Okay? Below that, notice it says, if you did not check any of the boxes, the single deduction that you put in there is $9,750. The total of that is the standard plus your exemptions. Okay, it explains that there. Now, line 6 says subtract line 5 from line 4. If line 5 is larger, enter 0. That's your taxable income. That's what the tax tables, and I'm going to show you these crazy tables that you have to find your tax on. That's what you're going to use. You're not going to use line 1 because it's going to be more than line 6. How many of you want to give the federal government more of your money? No. Okay, we all want as much money as we can possibly have. Now, line 7 says federal income tax withheld from forms W-2 and 1099. On that W-2, box 2 says federal income tax withheld. That's how much money you're going to put there. Earned income credit. I'm going to be totally honest, I'm not exactly sure what earned income credit is, so I am going to actually read it to you from the booklet. An earned income credit is for certain people who work. The credit may give you a refund even if you do not owe any tax. To take the earned income credit, you need to follow steps 1 through 3. You need to complete the earned income credit worksheet later, or let the IRS figure the credit for you. And that doesn't even really tell you what earned income credit is it? It might be, no, that's something else. Oh, step 1 is if the amount in line 4 is less than $13,000, then you go to, so you have to have less income if you're single than $13,980. Step 2 is if you're filing a joint return, you have a social security number that allows you to work or is valid. So do you have a good social security number? Step 3, were you or your spouse, if filing a joint, at least 25 but under 65 by the end of 2012? If yes, you get to go on. Was your main house and your spouse's, if filing joint, in the U.S. for more than half of 2012? If yes, you can go on. Are you filing a joint return? If no, it says look at the qualifying child conditions next. Could you be a qualifying child of another person in 2012? It says qualifying for earned income credit is a child who is a son, daughter, stepchild, foster child, brother, sister, stepbrother, stepsister, half-brother, half-sister, or a descendant of any of them, for example, your grandchild or niece, and you are under 19 at the end of 2012. You are under 24 if you are a student, which I told you your parents can still claim you, or you are any age and permanently or totally disabled. Okay, did you live in the U.S. for more than half of the United States?
Yeah.
For 2012. In the United States, thank you.
No, I did not.
To be totally honest, I do not completely understand earned income credit. So you can contact the IRS. There are tons of help things, and you can ask if you only make $13,000, almost $14,000, that's not much. Okay, so that's going to be
That was the whole year.
that's for the whole year. So that's like $1,000 a month. It's gonna be hard. We've looked at how much money it takes to live, and it takes more than $1,000 a month unless you're, farming beets and using them for everything that you need. All right. Look at line B is non-taxable combat pay if you're in the military. That would come into effect. Line 7 and 8, or line 9, you have to add 7 and 8. These are what goes against what you owe the federal government. This is what you've already paid, or if you're getting some sort of credit. And then you have to, on line 10, you have to look at line 6. And you have to find that number in the ever fun and friendly tax tables. The tax tables are page 31 through 39 in the document, in the instructions, and you have to find the line and match it up to how much you made, and it has to be it's in between two numbers, and they're in $25 increments. Okay? These are the numbers that you use to find your tax. You're going to look between here and here. You'll find it. It goes in number order. Okay?
I have that too.
You don't have this yet. I didn't copy 40 pages worth. let you look at it online. Now, the tax number depends on if you are single or if you are married. There are two things. So if you made $1,500 and you are single, you owe $151 in tax. Okay? If you made $1,500 and you are single, you owe $151. You would find $1,500 and you are single, so it would be $151. This by far will be the hardest part of finding. If you made $1,500 and you are single, you owe $151. So here's your bands, $1,500 and you are single. $1,500. You are single. That's the number that you write on line 10. Now, here's the fun part most of the time. Line 11. If line 9 is bigger than line 10, you subtract, and that's how much money you get back. That's how much money the federal government writes you a check for. Okay? Or they can direct deposit it as well. But if it is not, then you go down to line 12 and you have to put how much money you owe them. Then you have to write the check and send it to them. If you didn't have enough money taken out of your check, for whatever reason, you owe them money, and then at the end of the year, you then have to pay them that money. Third-party designee means maybe you had someone else do your taxes, and you might not completely understand what the IRS is saying, and you might want them to talk on your behalf. Then you have to sign it, date it. The bottom part is if you paid someone to do your taxes, you would have them fill out that information. And then this has to be sent to the IRS by April 15th. And that address and everything is on the very last page of the instructions. It tells you based on where you live. If you live in Ohio, you send it to, and are not enclosing a check or money, you send it here. If you have money, you send it here. Okay. The federal government doesn't do anything that is like makes sense or is easy. Everything that they have you do is you have to jump through a lot of hoops. You can do this online now instead of doing a hard copy, and then you get your refunds back faster. Now I know that was a lot, and I just want to give you a preview, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of downtime.
Define downtime.
I'll let you sit there. Thank God, is that what you said?
Yeah.
I am giving you some filled in W-2s. Ones that are already filled out for you. This is what you would get in the mail if your name was Tom L. Cat and you worked at the printing company.
I got that after
Okay.
I did the second one, Tom and Jerry. Okay.
Tommy Tiddlywinks. Alright. So you're going to notice that the printing company paid Tommy L. Cat $25,432. That was his compensation. That's going to be the number in that box 1 that goes on their income taxes. Okay? Same thing for Tommy Tiddlywinks. These other numbers in the state will come into play when we go through. Not only do you have to fill out a federal tax form to get money back from the federal government, you have to fill out a state tax form, and you have to fill out a school district tax form. So you have 3 tax forms, but they work off each other's numbers, so you have to do them in a specific order. So as you look through here, you're going to notice that you have a 1040 EZ form. You have 3 of them. And then you have an Ohio IT 1040 EZ. So that's what we fill out for Ohio. And I don't, did I put in the school? I don't think I put the school district one. So starting tomorrow, we're going to start filling these out. We're going to do it together on the first one, and then I'm going to have you do the second 2 by yourself. Any questions?
She's in our cubby.
If you would like to put them in your cubby, or else I can take them too.
I'll be here tomorrow for the second class.
If not, I will videotape it.
Well,
Okay.
it's easier if I'm here so I can see it. I'll just tell Mr. Lucas that.
These iPods.